Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, L2 LiDAR processing, workspaces, and more. And we're going to be exploring Propeller's latest releases today. My name is Diane Siri. I am a marketing campaign specialist here at Propeller, and I'm joined today by Jacob. He is one of our senior enterprise customer success engineers. He has actually been with Propeller for almost 3 years now, and he comes from a background in data production and surveying, in the surveying and engineering world. So super excited to have him host the meeting today. And we are joined by our special guest, John Bergen. He is a project engineer at Goodfellow Brothers Inc. And he's been with us for the past 3 years. So going ahead and going to get us started here today with the agenda. We're going to cover just a little bit about who Propeller is for those of you folks who may not know who we are. And then we're going to dive in and talk about our newest releases. And we will then hear from John specifically about how all of these new features are improving Goodfellow Bros workflows. And then we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up for Propeller with the rest of the year. And we'll conclude with a Q&A. So make sure if you guys have any questions, please be sure to put them in the comments down below. And we will get this started. So Jacob, why don't you go ahead and kick us off?
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Diane. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your Thursday to sit here and learn about some product here at Propeller, what we're excited about, what we're looking at, and how successful customers can be with a bit of a case study here and talking to John with GBI's experience. So we'll start it off with, like Diane said, a bit of a story of Propeller, which starts all the way back in 2014, actually. So can do the simple math on that. We just celebrated our 10th birthday, which we're pretty fired up about. Just kind of really excited for the future, what we've done in this short amount of time and what's to come, all kind of getting us chomping at the bit and eager to kind of lean into the future here in our digital delivery and smart survey solutions. But 2010 was our origin story with our founders kind of coming up with this problem to solve and aiming to make survey data simpler, faster, and smarter. A pretty quick year's sprint worth of work. They were able to come up with 3D surface measurements on a map in our early visualizer. And we invented the first and only smart ground control point, which is our arrow point, of course, which all comes together to make drone data much more accessible and much more accurate than ever before. Another year later, we were able to team up with Trimble, one of our great partners, that's come together with us to kind of co-brand and white label Propeller as Stratus, as many of our customers know it. And we were able to expand upon our team of GIS experts to make processing even faster, even more accurate, and even more simple. So those 3 years was kind of our beginning. And here we are today, now in 2024, hard to believe, with over 90,000 users across 40,000 work sites around the world, using our platform, hardware, and data services to the absolute most of their capability. So moving on from our story, and before our conversation here with John, I wanted to kind of quickly highlight some of our new releases that we're pretty excited to have out here in the wild. So starting with some kind of basic stuff, but improving our exports is something that we're always looking to iterate on. And a pretty cool one that we've done recently to support GIS and CAD crossover is some new functionality and formatting available for orthophotos coming from Propeller in your drone surveys. So we added the JP2 file type to reduce the file size, make it a lot easier, more shareable, KMLs to increase compatibility with Google Earth, common functionality to be sharing data within Google, and then PNGs, which give you the ability to adjust transparency and put that into deliverables for different purposes. Storage insights and data management. This is a big one. 10 years now is a proud place to be, and we have many customers that have been along the ride with many of those for many of those years with us. Storage then becomes an issue when we're looking at 5, 6, 7 years worth of data being processed and stored. So now we are really excited to have fresh insights into the amount of volume you have stored in your portal, right alongside your platform analytics and the ability to manage your storage and really quickly reduce storage. So we're kind of staying below any sorts of constraints or limits, or just kind of the need to tidy up and clean up your workspace here in the portal. So really excited to have these out in the wild, very recently released. Looking ahead, we've got L2 LiDAR processing. So L1 LiDAR processing was brought earlier last year. L2 was quickly released on its heels from DJI. So we kind of picked up the opportunity there and integrated this new sensor. With the L2 processing solution, you get the same experience as the L1, of course, which is expert support and speed to LiDAR survey. So with this fully integrated workflow, it looks and feels the exact same as our photogrammetry solution, allowing anyone to capture better bare earth models beneath vegetation so that we can get to building and bidding better with existing ground conditions beneath that vegetated surface. Hydrology, this one is super new. This one actually came out this week, and this is actually an iteration on a hotly used function that was kind of always quietly in the background of Propeller. But this suite of tools is designed to help managers effectively manage and prepare for rainfall and water events, of course. So in addition to our rainfall simulation, we've added a flood to level analysis. We've improved our surface water and surface runoff simulations. We've built a catchment and watershed analysis tool. And we have a direct rainfall simulation, which you can actually visualize the effects of rainfall over a period of time and within a specific area. So lots of really cool hydrology tools now available right there in your platform, ready to go with this new Hydro tab. Cropping, another really exciting one that's fresh off the press. This was released also earlier this week, but we're now enabling users to be able to crop your survey and crop your data set right there in the platform after your data has been processed. So you can create a polygon, you can draw a custom boundary with that polygon boundary. You can upload a KML boundary if you have a specific boundary that you're already looking to use. We can reuse crop boundaries from previous surveys. And of course, we can edit, modify, and remove these between data sets as needed. So we can get accurate measurements right up to the edge of your boundary. It cleans things up visually, gives you a more professional presentation in your deliverables, and it makes sure that we're only measuring and visualizing the most accurate and relevant survey data possible. And workspaces is the last one that we're going to kind of talk about today here in what's been done really recently. This was a huge release for us. And workspaces is really just an added layer that allows dedicated sandboxes or workspaces to organize designs and measurements to make it more easy to find and work on the information that matters most to you and your team. So this is actually a really open-ended kind of solution. We see customers deploying this in a lot of different ways, whether dividing things into teams or specific sets of reporting, or even using workspaces for version control for like a master designs workspace, for example. And then leveraging the linking functionality with designs to be able to push those forward into our team-facing workspaces to make sure that people are able to access the most relevant revisions and copies and versions of data possible, and keep things nice and tidy and organized within those specific workspaces. So that was a really big one. We were super excited about that. And that's honestly a really good kind of segue here into our intro with John. And we're going to talk a little bit about how GBI is improving their workflows with Propeller. And we're going to talk a lot about how John was helping us along in beta testing during our early access program. So with that, we're going to kind of kick things off with some quick facts, just give everybody a quick primer on GBI and who they are. And nobody better to do that than John himself. So John, you want to go ahead and give a quick intro to those that aren't familiar, just talk about who GBI is, give us the lay of the land.
Yeah, can do. So Goodfellow Bros is a general contractor focused on heavy civil construction, and it was founded by three brothers, Jack, Bird, and Jim Sr. back in 1921 in Wenatchee. And basically it was built on the foundation of having strong values, such as prioritizing relationships, embracing culture, and committing to the communities in which we live and work. And these values led to a lot of success, which ultimately allowed them to branch out to Hawaii in the 70s, specifically Maui. Had some work lined up over there, and then over time found more success. And then now we're based on the Big Island, which is where I'm from, Maui, Oahu, Lanai, and Kauai as well, along with California, Oregon, and Washington, which are other regions that we're based in. And one thing Goodfellow does is, since, I was looking back on it as the 80s, they're always been able to implement the latest technology that comes into construction. And that's one thing that I really appreciated. And it all started with, when computers first became a thing, and then HCSS, which is for bidding and project management softwares, all the way to Trimble and all the new modeling softwares that are out there now on Propeller. They've completely opened up, brought all those in, and it's revolutionary for the construction industry as a whole. And so that's kind of what Goodfellow does. Sets us apart from a lot of our competitors too. Like using Propeller, we're able to show owners and clients in real time existing conditions of sites, track earthwork progress, and Propeller's been an ultimate tool, and Goodfellow absolutely uses the new technologies to its advantage.
Awesome. Yeah, man, that's great. 100 years in business, over 100 years. That's no small task, no small feat, and it makes sense, right? 100 years in business, you got to be kind of keeping up with the times, and adopting technology can be very difficult, especially with businesses that have so much history and kind of built-in expectation and workflows and operating procedures. So it's quite the testimonial there to be able to see how Goodfellow has been able to keep up with the technology and lean into the latest and greatest, over 100 years. It's very incredible. As that relates to Propeller, obviously John mentioned Propeller here is a big part of their tech stack. Really, really awesome use coming from GBI, helping support projects across the islands, even over in the contiguous states, with their work in California, Washington, Oregon, over there on the West Coast. You guys are flying, it seems to be almost every integrated drone we have available. And just over the last year to date, we have 643 data sets that have been processed. So lots of drones in the air, lots of data being collected, and a lot of really good sharing and collaboration going on. And part of that collaboration is helping Propeller continue to iterate and become a better version of itself. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about this early access program. And before we get into that and what that experience looked like, John, let's get a little bit more specific information about yourself. We know you're a project engineer, but yeah, how long you been there? Kind of what does your job look like?
Yeah, so been with Goodfellow for about 3 years now, and project engineer on the Big Island of Hawaii. And basically what I do is, we're analyzing costs, quantities, and productions on a daily basis specific to the project that I'm on. Also deal with 3D modeling and design and GPS related stuff. We utilize 3D modeling in all of our machines. So all of our operators are able, when we're grading roads or excavating trenches and putting in any kind of utilities, they actually have the software on their screen in the equipment that they're on, which goes a long way for them. Also work with vendors, purchasing materials, subcontractors, RFIs, along with, working with the owner and updating them on, progress of the job. So that's kind of the gist of it. A lot of fun tasks at hand there. So it's a big
couple things, wearing a few different hats. That seems to be a pretty common thing for a lot of my clients. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously the civil world at scale, there's so many moving parts, and we can, draw our own conclusions, of course, but maybe you can kind of put it in your own context and tell us a little bit about, typically what you particularly are using Propeller for, and how you're kind of finding that fit into your workflow.
Yeah, it actually was like, to start, the first time I came across Propeller was, I want to say, a year and a half to 2 years ago. I was out at an engineers meeting hosted by Goodfellow out of Maui, and they had showcased Propeller for kind of the first time that I had seen it as an engineer. And to me, it was the coolest thing I ever saw. Having a real-time 3D, model of a survey through a drone flight of your site, and being able to, track quantities, earthworks progresses, upload designs. I was blown away. And it initially was like, the coolest thing that I saw from the beginning was the stockpile measurement. And prior to Quantiki, where I'm at now, is we were at Kona Village, and my project manager at the time was John Steen, and we crush on-site material. Anytime we excavate trenches from utilities or hammer, we utilize that material, crush it, and then use it for backfill material on site.
Mm-hmm.
And we had this crusher stockpile of 6-inch minus and a bunch of other that we never could gauge of how much we had. You know, we'd always just guesstimate, really. We had no real tool to do it. And one of the things that when I originally saw Propeller in that engineer showcase, is that stockpile measurement. And so as soon as I flew back to Kona Village, I call our GPS modeling specialist, Jeff Scott. I was like, hey, do we have access to Propeller and everything? He's like, yeah. I was like, you got a drone? He's like, yeah. I'm like, could you just fly this stockpile over here? I want to see what this is all about. Flew it and got a, super accurate quantity on that stockpile. And then from there on, basically, it just took off. I realized all the tools and the ability that this software or the platform that Propeller is, brings to the table. Mm-hmm. Like, you're able to track earthwork quantities, as I mentioned. You can upload your CAD design, your finished grade surface. So you can upload models, CAD. You can measure your production. One thing that I use it on a daily basis is, say we're excavating a trench, and I'll go out in the field, see how far we dug, and I'll measure like the width and the depth, like out in the field, and then I'll look out there and be like, okay, we dug from here to here. Come back to the office, use the measurement, the distance tool on Propeller, and in 2 seconds, like, okay, we dug 220 feet, or we dug 340 feet, where instead of measuring it, 10 to 20 times over with a measuring stick,
mm-hmm.
That's something that I utilize it for, and it's extremely beneficial from my role as an engineer. Along with importing the CAD line work and the finished grade surface design, one thing Mark and I, who's my project manager here, is from the beginning of this project, we've had routine drone flights. And as we're mass grading and bringing in material and backfilling stuff, we're always tracking, our balance of sight and how close we are to reaching our finished grade. And the tools that Propeller has on there, we utilized all the time. Like, it was extremely beneficial, as a look ahead standpoint from project management. Along with being able to import PDFs from plan sets, like, I legit uploaded our entire plan set, via PDF, or even you can print it out on paper, just your standard plan sets. I uploaded our entire set up to Propeller, and early on, I'm able to, we identified a lot of conflicts in the design that we wouldn't have known had we just been looking at the plan. Like, you'd never be able to tell just looking at the plan set, because you have all your match lines, everything's broken up. And being able to overlay all these sheets together, along like your utilities with your grading plan and your demo plan, having all those all in the same space in real time on a drone flight was extremely beneficial, because everything looks good on paper, but as soon as you're on site and you're in the real conditions, it's like, oh, this box might not fit here, and stuff like that. And utilize that at the beginning, and that's kind of typically what I use Propeller for. Is I take advantage of all the tools that the platform offers, and there's a lot of them, and it's been a great asset to our team over here at Goodfellow.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That is so funny. I didn't know your origin story quite like that. I think everybody has, kind of that gateway or that aha moment that kind of clicks, and they're like, wait, this thing might actually be incredible for what I'm doing. And it's, somebody putting it in front of them, or they stumble upon it themselves because somebody shared a measurement or a design or something and brought you into the portal. But starting with, such a foundational measurement, our stockpiles, that's our genesis ourselves, really. Just being able to quantify what's in front of us from a drone. It's awesome to see how you started there not even that long ago, and going through some of our training sessions as we're enabling GBI users, across the islands and in the States as well, on the mainland, seeing how deep it goes, exactly like you said. I don't know many examples of teams that are using Propeller as well as GBI have come to do, and it comes from great leadership and amazing buy-in, with people like you mentioned there with Jeff and James, and that's just kind of spread organically through dedication to that technological advancement and the efficiencies that the tools like this can kind of bring. But yeah, that's something to be super proud of, man. I think as a younger guy in a very old industry, it's really cool and exciting to see everybody so eager and ready to kind of embrace this technology and kind of spin the world on its head and make things so much easier and safer and more cost effective and time effective by leaning into the tools that are out there these days. And Propeller, we're super stoked to be able to be one of those tools because we just learned so much. Honestly, it's providing a service and a product, but in our time together, it's and with all of my customers and clients, it's so much learning that's being done on both sides. It's me not having any field experience on the engineering side or the survey side, but being on kind of the data side of it, and being able to connect the dots and understand what goes in to make this job and these projects kind of happen, and what makes a difference and what makes people's lives easier. Being able to have conversations and learn alongside y'all as I'm kind of teaching y'all the Propeller side of things, and then it goes the other way. It just makes every day, kind of an exciting opportunity for me to continue learning and making an impact with y'all's teams as an embedded asset and somebody that's here to learn alongside, just as you guys are there to learn from myself and use me as a resource. So that kind of brings us to this learning component, and as Propeller grows and expands and identifies new opportunities to deliver new products, we have to really take a considered approach to this. And workspaces was a really big one for us because this is something that was rolling forward to really reshape the look and feel in a small but meaningful way for all of our users that are leveraging the Propeller platform. So this was a really big one for our team to work on, and it took a very long time, a lot of design, lots of thought going into this, and heaps of engineering work that was taking place over the last couple of years. But eventually we got to the point where we had this fleshed out and we were ready to rock, but we're never just going to put it out in the wild without getting customers' opinions and insights from it first. We wanted to get some feedback. So we had a pretty robust early access program identifying clients and relationships that we would be able to get some really awesome insight from into how effective this tool was going to be. So that he was opened to a handful of users. GBI was pretty towards the top of the list. We were really excited to get you guys involved with that, but of course we need the green light. We need somebody to buy in, and you and others decided to kind of put the check mark next to GBI's name and allow us to kind of go through this process together. But from your perspective, what really kind of impacted y'all's decision to buy in and go for this beta participation?
I saw it as an opportunity to utilize all the new features kind of ahead of the game and provide feedback along with testing them. From the beginning, seeing all the tools that Propeller brought, to the table as a platform and how much it's benefited myself as an engineer, being able to be in the loop, in the inner circle, knowing all these new features that are coming out and being able to test them and provide feedback in order to improve, a platform that I use every day it's a no-brainer, so I was super happy to be a part of that. I think it's funny because when, like, on the topic of workspaces, I brought it up to you that, hey, if there's one thing I'd like, added is I'd like to be able to group or like manage and organize all my measurements and designs, so they're not just all in list form. So I could like kind of group them, organize them that way. And right there, you're like, oh yeah, we're pushing that out like, next week. It just shows how ahead of the game you guys are, already looking ahead on it. And then that's when we jumped into the early access stuff. And, you guys got to give credit to yourself on, it was an idea. I was like, oh, this is like the one thing, I'd bring in, and then you guys are already working on it. And it just shows how, your team are in on it and always looking ahead. And it was also an opportunity to work with you guys and your team at Propeller. As I said, like, utilize the platform all the time. It's good to put a name to the face, especially when you use, this software every day, So it's kind of a no-brainer of, signing up for the early access program. Still has the opportunity to, provide feedback and test things and make it better.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah. So many good things I heard there. I mean, obviously, thank you very much for the kind words and really kind of that's speaking to the capability of our product team being able to connect the dots through, our other internal teams, whether it's sales or success engineering or data success, and make sure that we're aware of everything that is and what could be, and start kind of coming up with these plans and these development agendas that are going to be meeting the need as it's coming up, and not when it's, we're more behind the curve. Because that's, ideally how this is all coming together, is a conversation exactly like that, where, people start buzzing about the thing a little bit more. And we've had it on our radar through, conversations and sending this along to our product team. And then we can get the wheels up and spinning on these tools and features, whether it's workspaces or Hydro or whatever. And, by the time maybe we get to this exciting inflection point, we have something that's ready for an EAP. So lots of incredible planning and management going on the product side. So definitely passing that along, and hats off to the team over there in Australia who's hard at work day in and day out on that. And honestly, just kind of want to shout out, you guys and yourself personally, speaking to, participating for the right reasons. It's speaking to your commitment to this technology and your pride in what you're deploying in Propeller, and knowing how integrated and how successful this can be, and really wanting to stay committed and stand by that product, and being able to put your fingerprints on it. Because Propeller, whether it's on the hardware side or the platform or the relationships, really, customers' fingerprints are all over everything that we do, and nothing is made, no decisions are made, no products are developed in a silo. They're all coming from direct feedback and consideration from our customer's voice. So really appreciate you being open to that. And kind of the last point there is, being able to put faces and names and stay connected to this product. I think for me personally, on, kind of the customer side of things, it is one of the things that I really most proudly hang my hat on, is being able to have real relationships with my customers and clients, and connect the dots and suffer alongside them, problem solve alongside them, and enjoy success alongside them. And I'm really glad to hear, that's of course important to you, and you feel like that is accessible, in a relationship with Propeller. So that's awesome. We can go ahead and dive in a little bit more. I don't want to kind of digress too much and run long and get too sentimental, but talking about the process itself, what did this process look like for you, and how was it working with our team on the product side of things?
So when I was going through it, going, on this early access program, as a whole, it was a great experience, actually. Anytime there was something that I noticed, we had healthy, positive discussions. You and your team were always actively engaged and open to listening, and genuine, listened to what we had to say or bring to the table on specific issues, or, features that might be a little buggy and stuff. That's essentially what it was. I mean, the process was, you guys made it easy, working with your team, from us on our side, having that good relationship, and, just, it was always a positive discussion. That was never, you guys actually embraced me like, hey, if there's anything bad, let me know. Don't, try to beat around the bush, or, don't stray away from it. We need to know, and, being open about that. And, it was always just a positive discussion, in a good environment. So that's how it summed up.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's the nature of an EAP, from the product standpoint, is you're there for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And if we're only hearing, sunshine and daisies, we're missing something. There's got to be something. And I know you were able to kind of call out a couple things. Do you remember any of those bugs that I think we addressed together?
Yeah, they were small. Originally, when I first had access to the workspace, the way that it works is essentially you create a workspace folder. And so when I was moving all my existing measurements to that new folder. Essentially, it's as simple as a drag and a drop. But what happened was for a specific utility, it was for the irrigation. All my irrigation measurements, I was going to drag it up into the folder, and then I realized I didn't create an irrigation folder. So I pressed escape, which is usually your safe key, and just to back up and then redo it. When I pressed escape, from my standpoint, and I sat down with Mark and went through everything, the entire irrigation, all the measurements we had, the design is gone, completely off the site, off the platform. Went through every folder, went through everything. Went through with Mark too to make sure I wasn't going crazy. I was like, tell me not, this thing is disappeared, it's gone. Long story short, it ended up fixing itself. Within a week later, I sat down with you and I brought it up. I was like, hey, like I lost all my measurements for irrigation. And when I went to show you and talk about it, they were there. I don't know if they got lost in the cloud or, backed up somewhere or what, but it essentially fixed itself, which, is a great thing, So we put that one to rest. And then the other one was just initially the uploading PDFs was a little buggy in some spots, but other than that, it was just small little, buggy features that are easy fixes.
Yeah.
And,
yeah, they seem small, but it's those small things add up, right? If a product gets released with 4 or 5 little small things, they're going to be compounded, especially when we're talking about sending this out to tens of thousands of users. And they're things that people are going to notice. And we're, in this early access program and this beta testing and this relationship, kind of getting this feedback from y'all, we're counting on you to call those out, because if we don't, we're not going to hear it just from John and GBI. We're going to hear it from, the 100 companies over here. And it's going to put us kind of in that position where, we're having to kind of catch up and make right when we should have just built the product correctly in the first place. So, those are super good examples. With one, it's kind of on the facet of new functionality. So we have to make sure all this new kind of data management and movement into these workspaces was working. And in the context there, I was kind of able to triage that and do a bit of a postmortem with the team. And that was funny because it actually ended up being something, how this kind of rolled out with beta participants was we would build the thing, and then it would kind of live on our side in what we kind of call a staging environment. So we're building it and we're kind of fleshing it out and QAing it on our side, and then we're kind of iteratively pushing forward to you as the beta participant, the latest and greatest. So you had seen that issue in a moment in time where you hit escape, and then all of a sudden it just disappears into space. When in reality, probably almost at that same time, it could be that we are, pushing forward the next iteration, and then that problem is resolved because it was identified already. And then, again, with the PDFs, this is a feature that people use every day, and it's nothing that needed to change. There was nothing intended to change, but somehow in this engineering, little functionality had changed and things weren't working as good. So being able to make sure that we're staying true to what our customers expect with features that are totally unrelated, super important, right? So it's adding new features, it's adding improvement, but it's not taking away from anything that was already there. And both of those were fantastic call outs. And super helpful for us to use in this process. So I think then we'll talk a little bit about the post-launch side, how workspaces have been working for your projects. And we're gonna also talk about a couple other ways that Propeller is being deployed with GBI, but we'll start with the workspaces and kind of how this has kind of pushed forward and started getting deployed and implemented on your projects now that it's a full public release.
Yeah, Workspaces has been, a great addition to it. Now I'm able to, explaining it to people that haven't seen, but on my site, I have excess amount of measurements of all kinds of reports, designs, and the one thing I wanted to do was be able to organize it and manage it effectively. And so being able to, create, now I have folders for each utility system. So I have, my sewer system, my irrigation, electric, gas, water, having all of those in their folder instead of just, a list of 50 items is honestly been definitely streamlined productivity. I'm able to access things quickly instead of going through a whole list and, find which one it is, and you misclick one. And then workspaces has been really beneficial in that case, along with being able to group other people's stuff. For example, if you share a site with somebody else, whether it's your project manager or you have other engineers or anybody else in the company that has access to your site, you can essentially create your own workspace for them. So, like, for example, my project manager, Mark, if he wanted to create his own workspace with his stuff where nobody else, I mean, we could touch it if we wanted to, but where he had his stuff in there, he could do that. Mark's, workspace. I could put John's workspace, or anybody could do that. And that's huge too. That's kind of how it is in real time now that it's been fully released. And I think it's been an awesome addition.
Awesome. Yeah. I actually just had a training with Eric over there, and I believe it's Maui, and he had about 20 or so engineers, and we were kind of going over some of the new look and feel, some basic introductions to Propeller for those that are uninitiated so far, and going through workspaces and seeing how he's deploying workspaces on his projects. It's the same but different, right? And I think that's really cool, the flexibility that workspaces offers. There's not really a right way to do it. It's kind of an open story there, to be able to add this workspace, this sandbox, this level of organization in a way that best fits your projects and your teams. And being able to use you as an example and have a conversation like this is just super, super valuable. Just again, kind of highlight the way that work can be done, to the best in Propeller. And on that, I think we'll just kind of transition to, a couple other ways that we haven't yet discussed. We talked about, obviously the measurements and bringing in your CAD files and being able to get these surfaces integrated and stuff into external packages with whether it's TBC or, AutoCAD, what have you. A really cool one that I want to talk about that I know you've done some nice stuff with is the mobile app. How have you been using the mobile app on your projects?
So I use the mobile app every day. I pretty much don't leave the office without my iPad. On this iPad, you got the Propeller mobile app. It's awesome. It's on a big screen. Everything I have on the platform on my computer, I have on here. And using this out in the field is, you can't understate it. Like, no longer do you have to go out in the field with a full plan set, or you have to go out with all these other things. All I have to do is walk out with my iPad. So when I'm talking to my foreman or talking to subcontractors or the owner or whoever it is out on site, everything that I need is right on that device. I can show them, our entire survey with our design, with the PDF plan sets on there. I legitimately do not leave the office without that thing. Even if I don't need it, it's better to have it and not need it than, need it and not have it. And the fact that it's mobile, it's on the iPad. I can take it home. Say if I want to look at stuff after work, like check our site, stuff like that. It's a huge tool to have. That's how I use it every day. You have access, like I said, to all your designs, all your line work, your measurements, stuff like that. So it's the fact that it's mobile as well, even, is a tool in itself.
For sure. Are you using the photo, like the media functionality with the app a lot, or is it kind of early goings with that?
So I actually did when we first started over here on the project that I'm on right now. When we were doing our mass grading, I went out and I saw that it was a feature, and so I was testing it out. We were grading building pads, and I basically wanted to take photos out there and then just come back and have them and then see if they would be on the computer as well. Mm-hmm. And so I take photos of specific pads, here's, pad 11, pad 12, and then take a photo, put it on, and then you can pin it, mm-hmm. and it will have a little pin icon on Propeller. And so I actually did use it in the beginning, and yeah, that's also, super helpful too. Like if I'm out in the field and I take a photo of something that we've done, be like, oh, I want to make sure I know that this is at, handhole group 3 or, pad 12, because it very easily in a photo, you can kind of forget where you are, especially when there's a lot of, say if you have 9 handhole groups like in your electrical system, or you have 41 building pads, it's like that pad might look a whole lot like that pad. So being able to take a photo and pin it where it is on your survey is also, super useful.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool to kind of hear about how so much of your experience in Propeller has kind of come from just curiosity. You're like noticing something, oh, that's a feature I haven't played with. Let me dive into that. And I think it speaks especially well to, kind of why you in particular and the rest of the GBI crew was such a fantastic fit for this beta program, and kind of putting workspaces through its paces before we got it out in the wild. So yeah, I think that's a really awesome place to kind of leave it. And thanks again for taking the time to join me and to talk about your experience. I hope it was really helpful for everyone here joining us today. Beta testing is an ever ongoing process here as we're building out new tools, and we do look to extend early access programs as opportunities arise. So if you find yourself curious like John and GBI out there in Hawaii, feel free to contact your success engineer or get in touch with sales if you want to learn a bit about that process, and you might want to play a part in it. So thanks again, John. Really appreciate you joining us and sharing all this. It was super fun. And we'll be catching you soon, my friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. So great session there with John. Feel free to stick around, my friend. We're going to kind of dive into some more exciting product related talk and discuss what's coming up next here at Propeller. So workspaces, LiDAR, hydrology, these are things that we've all been really excited to kind of work on and get out in the wild. But coming up, we have so much more. This year is going to be a huge year for product development and tool release here for our users in our Propeller community. And this is an example of our most recent updated product roadmap. And these are actually public facing. So if you have a question and you want to see the most updated version of our product roadmap to see what's on our mind and what we're looking at building out and making available here really soon at Propeller, again, feel free to get a hold of your customer success engineer or talk to sales and see if you can get a walkthrough and review this roadmap. But as vast as this is, and I know it's probably kind of small text, so I'm not going to have you guys kind of squint. I'm just going to call out a couple specific things that I'm particularly really excited about. And one, very appropriately, is related to workspaces. And it is the concept and the offering of private workspaces. So right now, workspaces for all Propeller users are available, free of charge, free access. Anybody can dip in and out, create workspaces, and manage workspaces so long as they have, the administrative or manage access or create workspace permission assigned to your user profile. But these are all out there, rip roaring, ready to go. And you have a really nice flow of users in and out of those workspaces and those managed sandbox environments. But the logical iteration for us was to take this to a private functionality. So the place for a private workspace, again, very open-ended. The opportunity that I kind of, in the use case that I described earlier with workspaces, is version control. I think is a really good one to kind of think about in this context. So we can have, let's say, a master's designs workspace where we have our engineering team that's pushing in the latest revisions of all of our grading and line work plans, the latest sheets, and having that workspace lockable means that only those that are qualified and really should be managing and editing those designs access and visibility, they're the only ones that can get in there and do it. So we can create a private workspace for these master designs. Those can be managed, updated, removed as needed, renamed, so on, and then linked forward to our kind of field teams to manage our earthworks and manage our utilities installation and stuff like that. So all of those are linked forwards to it, to those teams and those public workspaces. But from a privacy and security standpoint and an administrative standpoint, being able to have that locked, super useful. Also, extending it to, let's say, John just wants to make sure nobody's getting in his workspace to mess with his measurements or his designs. You can put a lock on that. So this one is, again, super logical extension. This was the intent for kind of the furthest reach of workspaces with Propeller here at the get-go. So being able to have these invite-only workspaces will be really exciting, and that's coming up very soon. Data processing status is another one here. Really helpful, super kind of a very long-standing request, really. If those of you in here that are familiar with Propeller and you've uploaded data, you know, you can kind of hit that data processing tab, and all you'll see is the name of the data set and when it was uploaded and who it was uploaded by. And that's kind of where the buck stops. You're just kind of sitting there hanging out until the data set's released within 24 hours usually. And then we get you an email out that says, hey, your data is ready to go. Now we're going to have some status attached to that. So you'll be able to monitor every step of our processing pipeline that your data is moving through. So you'll know if it's, you know, waiting in the queue, it hasn't been picked up by a specialist yet. So you uploaded it end of month. We're right kind of in the busiest part of the month, and everybody's deciding to upload all their data at the time. You can see when it's been picked up. You can see, are we marking ground control? Are we comparing service, historical surface accuracy? Are we resolving ground control variants? So being able to have this insight and information in front of you to know what's happening with your data, to be able to better prepare for that release and be able to better handle, you know, communications with our data specialists will be amazing. So we're definitely looking forward to that one. Alignments. This one is really exciting for me personally. So, you know, almost all of you in the civil world, and especially of those of you that work, you know, kind of in linear capacities, whether it's roadways, pipelines, rail, anything like that, we know what alignments are, and we know that it's really the way that we talk. So being able to upload XML alignments, same simple, easy to use, straightforward design upload flow, and then have those visualized, have them selectable and referenceable. So we can now reference locations and measurements on your projects against your alignments and stations and offsets. Super helpful. And then extending that to the mobile app and be able to speak that location language out there in the field is going to be incredible. So I'm really excited for that. We're kind of sprinting towards the finish line there, going through a couple additional early access programs with some of my nearest and dearest customers. So that one's really exciting for me. And I think that's kind of really the short of the long. I could go on and wax poetic about all the exciting products that we have coming here over the course of the next year. But in the interest of time, I want to save some space for Q&A here. So we'll kind of kick it back to Diane and remind everybody, if you have questions about this roadmap, please feel free to get a hold of us, whether that's your success engineer or a sales associate or a sales representative, and we can kind of run you through it personally one-on-one.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jacob and John. Really appreciate you guys running us through all of the newest features. I know I really appreciated, John, hearing exactly how GBI is using workspaces to their benefit and helping out the projects. Like Jacob said, don't forget to post in the comments your questions that you have here. Looks like we got a few coming in. So we're going to start off with Chris's question. Are you looking to add other drones other than DJI? I know the answer is yes, but I'll pass it over to Jacob, who's going to have a little bit more insight into what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. So Chris, great question. Very kind of common question these days. As Diane said, yes. So currently, I can tell you that we are in the early integration phase with Skydio X10, as they have an RTK module that is coming to market here very soon, and Whisper Sky Scout. So those are two awesome drones here made in the States that we're really excited to be in our investigation and integration process with. This is a very strict protocol that we follow through to make sure we're getting all of the latest, so we're getting all of our latest integrations held to the same standards for accuracy that our customers have come to expect. So we don't have a timeline on, when those will be fully integrated, but the hope and intent there is that we can have a full integration available here this year that will give everybody the ability to upload that data and get your same survey grade outputs from Skydio and Whisper.
Awesome. We've also got another question, and I feel like, John, you can also probably chime in here, but what CAD software is commonly used for uploading 3D designs into Propeller?
Yeah, let's kind of pivot a little bit and ask John. John, what are you typically designing in, and what are you uploading from when it comes to CAD?
So at Goodfellow, we use Trimble. That's the basis of all our CAD, line work, 3D software, surface modeling. It's all based on Trimble. So we don't use AutoCAD or any of the other ones. It's all on Trimble Business Center.
Got it. Yeah. So yeah, Trimble's huge for a lot of our users. Autodesk, the Autodesk suite is super comprehensive. We have lots of people generating designs in the Autodesk suite, whether it's Simple 3D, SketchUp, stuff like that. There's a host of other stuff out there. And when it comes to the format and the form that these are being designed in, that's really not so much, to be perfectly honest, the focus on where it's coming from. It's just the format that it's coming in. So at Propeller, we really want to be aiming to kind of find this agnostic space to make sure that people are able to get data in from a variety of different engineering and CAD solutions. So when it comes to file types, that's what we look to focus on, and making sure that we're supporting industry standard and expected file types. So DXFs, TTMs from the Trimble world, land XMLs. There's always the opportunity to integrate more file support. So if you have questions on what file types are available, again, feel free to kind of send that in, and we can have a deeper chat about that. But the idea there is to kind of, as I said, be as agnostic as possible and make sure we're able to bring in all the data coming from a variety of different CAD and BIM packages.
Amazing. I feel like that goes into kind of the next question that we have here from Tracy. We mentioned our newest file type that we support. Do you have any update on potentially when we might be able to support Trimble's calibration files, the .cal?
Yeah, so I can't say that we're ever particularly going to support the cal file itself, but we do support local calibrations through Trimble by way of the JXL file. So I'm hoping that that's kind of the question that you're really getting at there, Tracy. But being able to process your data sets to your local grids, we know is super important for many of our customers. So whether that is, cal into JXL, and we're processing and translating, rotating and scaling based on that calibration file, or, again, looking at other solutions that are out there. So TopCon, we have as well support for those GC3 calibration files. So two pretty common survey solutions there that we're able to support local grids and local coordinate systems with.
Amazing. I'll give it another minute. Oh, we've got one more. Perfect. We also mentioned SketchUp. Is it possible to export a 3D model from SketchUp directly and import it into Propeller, Jacob?
Ooh, interesting question. So Trent, that would depend on, again, the file type. So we didn't dive into it too much, but something that has been released and kind of iterated on over the last year, so maybe a little bit too far in the past that we didn't really discuss it on this current recap, but IFC file compatibility and acceptability. So I'm not totally familiar with SketchUp exports, but if you're able to get anything out of SketchUp into an IFC, we can bring those 3D geometries into Propeller, visualize, measure against those, everything just like line work and surfaces.
Amazing. And I feel like this also goes back to what Jacob was saying earlier, but obviously we love all of the feedback our customers give us. We want to continue to iterate all of the best platform features that we currently have. So if you guys have any ideas or looking for more file types that you guys are looking for, definitely don't forget to reach out to your success engineer. They'll be able to take those notes and go directly to product to make sure that we keep iterating. We've got a couple little bit here where it says, well, you support manually placing DXF files similarly to PDF. That's they're struggling right now, currently getting that DXF file to come into Propeller positioned correctly.
Yeah, good question. I think kind of pin georeferencing as we have it with PDFs, it's probably going to be a bit too complex for me to confidently say that we would be able to bring that functionality to line work. That said, it sounds like a very solvable problem. So again, Trent, I would probably urge you to reach out to your success engineer to kind of get some help on that. It's probably as simple as verifying coordinate systems and making sure everything's speaking the same coordinate language. If you don't have that information kind of top of mind, to contact your customer success engineer, and this goes for anybody. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and throw myself under the bus here. Obviously, hosting ourselves on LinkedIn Live, please feel free to connect with me. Send me any questions that you might have on the other side of this. I'm happy to answer questions and then kind of direct you to the appropriate resources on the other side of this. And Jeremy, thank you so much. SketchUp supports IFC. Great to know. I'm now counting on everybody to start generating awesome 3D models and send those into Propeller to get those alongside your surfaces and lines right on top of your Propeller surface surveys.
Perfect. And with that being said, guys, if you do have any more questions, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. You can contact us directly through the website at propelleraero.com, or you can email us at hello@propelleraero.com. We really appreciate John hopping on today to talk a little bit more about Goodfellow Bros, and for Jacob walking us through all of the latest features. I know you guys didn't need to take time out of your day to do this, but truly appreciate you guys coming out here and talking with us.
Yeah, super fun. Thanks, John. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for having me on board. It was a good one. So appreciate
Definitely. Make sure to be on the lookout. We'll have an update tomorrow for our June webinar. So we look forward to seeing you guys back here on LinkedIn Live next month. See you guys.
Bye.